In this session, I want to talk a little bit more detail about connecting our device to App Inventor, or if you don't have a device, how to use the emulator to also run the program. Now, this is a really critical step for us. And honestly, I think this is the part where if you have problems with this course, this is going to be where it is. Once you get connected, there's no problems. And for the vast majority of you, I'm sure it will just connect right away and we'll be good to go. However, because variations in your machine configurations, in whether you have a device or not, and how that device is configured, this may be a spot where we're not going to all be on the same page. Now, fortunately for us, MIT provides some really great instructions for how to get started. Let me show you where we tap into that. So remember, when I launch App Inventor for the first time, it's going to tell me that I don't have any devices connected yet, and I never will. So this is always going to pop up. When I first connect, I never have a device connected. So what it's going to do is it's going to give me some instructions on how to get that connection established. If I have a device or if I don't have a device. In fact, these links take me to the same spot, so I'll just click on one of these links to get started here. Now, as we mentioned earlier, there are 3 ways we can connect and run our app. The first one, as you see here, they even highlight, is strongly recommended. This is the easiest way to go about doing this. If you have a laptop or some other machine that's connected to a Wi-Fi network, and you can connect your device to that same Wi-Fi network, this is by far the best way to do it. If you don't have a device, we can use the emulator, and if you have a device but you don't have Wi-Fi, we can connect via USB connection. Now, both of these will work, and they work just fine. But again, if you have the ability to do this first one, it's the best way to do it. Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second. Again, these instructions are really quite well done. So what I would recommend doing is try to read through the instructions and try to get yourself connected without my help. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through each of these instructions so you can see how I do it and what my screens look like. Sometimes that helps. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to catch everyone. There's probably 1 or 2 of you that may still have an issue along the way. And if that happens, I want you to promise me right now, don't pull your hair out. Don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on with it. Contact Mark or myself, either via email or log into one of the chat sessions and talk with us. We can try and get you through what's going on. Again, I think that this is a kind of a bottleneck in this course. Once we get you past it, everything's going to run smoothly. But some of you may encounter some difficulties here, and I don't want this to be something that turns you away from the course. Okay, so let me show you quickly just how we do the Wi-Fi connection to start with. I'm going to click on the instructions here. And the way this works is really quite simple. What we're going to do is we're going to broadcast our project from our computer over the Wi-Fi network, and it's going to be picked up by an app that's running on our mobile device. Okay, so the app that we're writing isn't directly running on the device yet. What's happening is it's kind of getting picked up by this App Inventor companion app, and it's running within that. So what we need to do is go out to the Play Store and download that app. Okay, now the important thing to keep in mind is that this app we're downloading right now goes on your phone or your tablet or whatever Android device you want to use. Okay, so there's a couple ways to do that. One is I can just go out to the Play Store directly and find it. Another way is I can use this handy QR code, and I can use this QR code to scan, and it will connect me to the Play Store and directly to the software that I need to download. Or if I don't have a QR code reader, I can click on this link, but not on my computer, on my mobile device. So you have to go to this address on your phone's browser. Let me just show you real quick. It's going to be really easy to do this on the phone. I'm going to go out here. Here's my set of apps on my phone. I'm going to find the Play Store. I'm going to launch it. And I'm going to search for, I've already typed it in, AI2 Companion. and there's the one we want. It's telling me it's already installed on my machine, but if you click on it and download it, it's just like installing any other app on your device. Okay, going to give me the option to install it, and from here I can just go ahead and open it. Let's see. So I've got it. I'm going to find where it is. It's what's it called on here? It's called MIT AI2 Companion. Looks like that. I'm just going to stick that on my screen just so I have it. Okay. So once I've got this app on my machine, what's the next step? I'm going to go back into App Inventor, and I'm going to use the Connect option. Okay, so from here I'll say Continue, and then up here I'll say Connect, and I'm going to use AI Companion. And what it gives me, you'll see, is another QR code or a 6-digit number here. Or a 6-digit code. It's not always a number. Right? I'm going to go out here to my phone and I'm going to launch the AI Companion, and it's going to give me a screen that looks like this. And it's asking me to do one of two things. Either I can connect with the code, I can type that code in, or I can scan the QR code. Since you won't be able to see me scanning the QR code, I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. What was it? It was HZEWIR. And we see it's going to connect and pull up my interface. And now the app is actually running on my device. So if I push the Press Me button, it's going to press. Okay. Now, one of the things that's kind of cool is all of the changes that I make while I'm connected are live. So if I add something else to this interface here, when I add it here, I don't have to do anything. It's going to update automatically on my device. Right? So if I drag any of these things out here, put a checkbox out here, again, I can check out my device, and it appears automatically. All the changes I make to my interface are automatically reflected on what's happening on my phone when it's connected. Okay, there's one other thing I want to point out to you. The wireless connection is wonderful, but occasionally wireless can get a little flaky, right? Sometimes your connection drops out, and your phone and your App Inventor get out of sync. And if that happens, all you need to do is reset the connection, or sometimes you have to do a hard reset. Reset the connection usually works. And that's just going to dump out, basically it's a hanging up on my phone. Right? So now I can go back and say I want to launch the AI Companion again, and it's going to give me this. From my phone's perspective, what I need to do is go back out to my home screen from the, get the app out of the front view, right? So I'm going back to my home screen, and then I'm going to look at the running applications, and I'm going to just kill that App Inventor, and then restart it. And it'll take me back to prompting for a connection. So that's if you have to reset the connection. And every now and then you'll have to do that. It's a little unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. All right. Let's go back out here and see if I wanted to connect my phone via one of these other methods. How would I go about doing that? So if the Wi-Fi option is not available to you, then I think the next best way to do it is to try to connect your device via USB. So what you're going to do is actually plug your phone or tablet into your computer. And again, this is something that may happen in your school system. If your school system is using a wired network, you may not have this option available to you. So let's consider this one. We'll walk through the instructions for this. It's pretty simple too. All right. So there's a lot of explanation here, and again, it's very good instructions here. Explanation as to why this may not work for you. What we need to do is set up some software on our computer. And again, you can follow either Windows or Mac or even Linux instructions here. Let's go ahead and just click on the Windows one just to see what happens. Okay. Now, again, this may be a hassle for some of you because you need to perform this on an account that has administrator privileges. So you may need to involve your IT staff to get this to work for you in your lab setting in your schools. All right. So again, it's a pretty simple process, though. First, we're going to download the installer. We're going to install some software on your computer, and we're going to install some software on your device as well. Okay, and we'll wait for this to download. I'm not going to wait the 5 minutes. I'll just fast forward the video here for a second. Okay, and now that my software is finished downloading, I can go ahead and launch it. And it's just like installing another piece of software. It's going to prompt me for whether or not I allow it or not, that sort of thing. And there's a small wizard to walk through. Yes, I accept the terms of agreement, and where's it going to put it, that sort of thing. Okay, and then we're all done. And we'll return back to our connect with USB instructions. Okay, and so now we need to download and install the AI2 companion software on our phone. This is what we just did in our last step. Again, it's just going out to the Play Store and downloading the AI2 companion. You can search for that, or you can scan the QR code and it will install the app onto your phone. Okay. And so now, we need to start the AI starter on our Windows. This is the software we installed a few seconds ago. Okay. AI starter, we'll launch that. And all this is doing is setting up a small server on our machine that App Inventor can listen to. Okay, so back into the instruction manual again. The next thing we need to do is turn on USB debugging for our device. Now, all Android devices are allowed to install software via the USB cable, unlike Apple devices. And in order to do that, though, we need to tell our device that that's what we want to do. And again, these are in our settings. There's a few things here that you might want to read depending upon which version of Android you're using. Most devices, this is pretty easy to find. I just go into the settings, and I'm going to find this menu here called Developer Options. Now, on some more recent versions of Android, the developer options are actually hidden. And here we go, Android 4.2, developer options are hidden. And there's a way to unlock that so that it does appear. It involves tapping something 7 times, something like that. Again, it's a pretty straightforward process. Okay? So under developer options, we just want to make sure that we have USB debugging allowed. The other one that I also like to check quite often is this stay awake feature. If you're doing a lot of development and your phone keeps going to sleep on you, it's not too fun. So this just keeps it awake while I'm debugging. Well, I've got my USB cable plugged in. It'll just keep the phone turned on. Okay. All right. So now I'm ready to go. I can go back into App Inventor. Oops. I can go back into App Inventor and say that I want to connect via my USB cable. it's going to go ahead and start up on my emulator here. We'll just wait just a second for it to load up, and there we go. We're connected. Okay. Now, one problem you may have with doing this is making sure that you have the proper drivers installed on your computer for your Android device. I already had mine installed for this particular phone, but anytime I plug a new phone in, a lot of times what I have to do is go off and get some drivers from the product manufacturer. So Samsung or LG or whatever, they all have their own set of drivers that allow the phone to actually communicate with the computer. And chances are, if you've been plugging your phone into your computer already for charging purposes or whatever, you may already have those drivers installed. Some of these Windows will automatically detect and install drivers for you. Sometimes you have to do it manually. I found with Samsung in particular, their drivers don't seem to play nicely, and you have to install some separate software for them to get the device to be registered. Okay. So that's the USB option. And so let's take a look at the instructions for setting up the emulator. And this is what you'll use if you don't actually have an Android device to work with. Okay, so back out here to my first page. Oops, back out here to my first page. They call it option 2, your emulator. And again, if you don't have an Android device and you want to run a simulator of the Android device on your computer itself, this is the way you can do it. Alrighty, so what do we need to do here? We need to install the App Inventor setup software again. This is the same process that we were just going through a second ago. Okay, so you can download the software and run it. Again, you'll need to have administrator privileges. So if you're running this on a school network and you don't have that, you'll need to contact your administrator to set this up for you. Okay, so we can download our installer and then go ahead and run it. Okay, again, you'll have to launch the AI starter. Every time you want to run the application, you'll have to run this AI starter. And then once that's running, though, we can just go into to App Inventor and say that we want to connect to the emulator. Connect to the emulator. I'm going to reset the connection, and I'm going to connect to the emulator. And you know, the emulator is good, but the problem with it is a little bit slower than we might want. So it takes a minute or two for it to load. I'm not going to pause the video. I'm going to let you sit through this just so you can see how long it takes. You'll see what we get is a pop-up of a thing that looks an awful lot like a phone. And what's happening right now actually is the phone is booting up. This is, you know, following the same process as if your phone were powered on for the first time. We've got our companion, and this may happen to you. So I've apparently downloaded this this emulator, and there's an update to the AI AI2 companion that's loaded onto this virtual phone. So we can update it now, or we can just say not now. Okay. And down here we see I've got my, I can pull that phone back up again, and we can see I've got my program is running on the emulator device. I can press me, and it changes to, message changes to Hello App Inventor. Okay, so that's how we can use the emulator. Again, and oh, by the way, I almost did this. Don't close this out. You want to keep this running as long as you're in your session. If you do, you're going to have to sit through that whole process, that whole, whatever, minute or two process of loading up the phone again. So always get in the habit of trying to minimize yourself there. Okay, so connecting. Again, there's 3 methods for connecting. The best way is using the AI companion through wireless. There's virtually no work to do as long as you have the right configuration, as long as you have an Android device, and as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection that you're using. You can go through the USB cable to actually plug your device into the phone, and that's nice because you know, you have that sense of actually running on a real device. Or you can use the emulator. Those latter 2 options do require some additional software to be installed locally on your machines, and that may be an obstacle for you, depending upon what your particular situation is. All right. Good. Again, this is a step in our process that I think is pretty straightforward, and once you get it set up, you're going to be just gliding through this. But you may encounter some difficulties, and if the instructions aren't enough, if this video wasn't enough, please, please, please contact one of us to help you try and get through this. One last thought. With respect to having an Android device to work with, you may or may not have one. If you don't have one, I kind of would recommend you go and get one. And they're not all that terribly expensive. What I've done in the past for my classes is told students to go and get a prepaid phone from Target or Walmart or Radio Shack or whatever. You know, something like a Track phone or Virgin Mobile has these kinds of phones. And you can get a pretty entry-level phone for about $50 or so. And then you have this device then that you can create all sorts of apps on or run all sorts of apps on. It's not that expensive. It's a little bit of a burden, but it's not that expensive to work with. Alternatively, you can talk to your friends and see if they've had an Android phone and their contract's up and they've gotten a new Android phone, what do they do with their old phone? It doesn't hurt to hang on to these things and use them for development purposes. They may be a little dated and the interface may not be as clean, and depends how well you treat them. The screen may be cracked a little bit, but it'll work nicely still. All right.